Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. I am so proud to welcome you today to Anti-Natalism International's grand opening matinee event of the Anti-Natalist Film Festival. On November 29th, just a few days ago, Anti-Natalism International passed the first anniversary since our launch event in 2020, and I cannot think of a better way of celebrating this milestone than our event today. 17 films, 11 filmmakers, one message. You may be asking yourself, why do an anti-natalist film festival? What about the work of anti-natalist artists justifies the efforts of building such an event? Aside from my own very real and personal love of anti-natalism, anti-natalists, and anti-natalist art of all kinds, and aside from even the fact that video work in particular has been such an important, indispensable tool for anti-natalists over the last 10 years or so during this advent of anti-natalist activism that we've seen, it's because of this simple fact. With each piece of antinatal art, we argue, we plead actually, with the world to be creative, not procreative. To my fellow antinatalist filmmakers, thank you. You are heroes arguing for the hard work of prevention, and your work deserves to be highlighted and celebrated this day and every day. My original intention for today's event was to do, introductions for each film, but the fact of the matter is our event today is quite long, nearly 3 hours, actually. So in the interest of time, you will not see me again in this capacity, at least until the end of the event, as we say our goodbyes. Feel free to dip in and out, especially those of you joining me in the Zoom watch party today. This event is indeed a pre-recorded video. It will be made available lots of places after the initial premiere, so if there's something you miss, no worries, you can always come back and watch later. In place of the absence of individual introductions to each film, please make sure to visit the link below to antinatalisminternational.com/Anti-Natalist Film Festival, where you can learn about each of the films, as well as all about the festival itself, and also what comes next. More info will be added as the days of the festival continue. The festival, of course, will run all through December 31st. On that page, you will also find ways of supporting each of the filmmakers, as well as how to vote for our second place winner. That will be the Anti-Natalist Approved Prize. Please make sure to subscribe to each of our filmmakers on YouTube if they have a YouTube channel. Not all of them do. And if you enjoy their work, please make sure to send them some love. So, some quick thank yous before we begin. I want to thank my fellow founders of Anti-Natalism International for being my partners in all of this throughout this last nearly 2 years of us speaking together and working together and building what we've built so far, and for doing all that you've done to get this event specifically to the point that it is now. I want to thank Life Sucks for donating our amazing film festival logo that I continue to be absolutely tremendously in love with. I just want to say an especially huge thank you to all of our filmmakers for submitting their work, for making this event today possible. Without you, there would be no Anti-Natalist Film Festival. I'm so happy that today we can all come together and celebrate your work. And now I give you the Anti-Natalist Film Festival 2021, this first edition of this event. I so hope that you enjoy, and I will see you after the event.
To my son, to my daughter, may I have mercy and save you from the sorrows of this earth. No tears will rise into your tired eyes, no pain so heavy you cannot fly, a burden far too much to bear will never be upon your small shoulders. With our joys come far too much anguish, a pain rooted so deep, only shadows escape. Talons dig into our skin, leaving marks we pretend never existed. Bleeding us dry, we lose our sight as we scream into the depth of night, ripping our wings, torn to shreds. They are stomped on until we are dead. A life alone, or you stay silent while you internally feel the rot plague your thoughts. Others look in, but they cannot see the black roses growing in plain sight, playing pretend in a land most vile. They continue this wretched cycle, pleading. No one hears your cries. You were already set alight the moment you opened your eyes. All you endured down to your final breaths. If you were truly loved, you would have never been spared by the truthful angel's wings. I love far too much to break another, watching you writhe in pain until you fade to places out of reach. I could not bear such a sight before my eyes. My dear, with the shackles upon my wrists, thorns around my neck, and the curse in my mind, I now know where I stand. A caged dove, set free. You will never be chained to me, to my unborn son, to my unborn daughter. Please know I will never falter. I swear upon my heart to always love you, but I know I could not bear to ever hurt you. You are spared from the raging wars we fight, a battle we always lose will not be placed onto you. The unborn float in peace. Do not wake them from their eternal sleep. I swim alone to places I cannot break from. A current too strong, it takes me where it wishes. The things I've seen, I wish I hadn't. Broken and scattered, a chaotic mess left to dust. But I smile as I bleed in my agony, for I did not add to the graveyard below our feet. Rest in peace, my You are free.
Hey kids, I'm a sentient sock. That means I can feel things like heat and dizziness and fear. When you create sentient socks, you're putting them at risk. So please stop doing that. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, doesn't always come naturally to us. Evolution has inclined us to identify the groups to which we belong and to empathize much more strongly with members of our own group than with those outside it. This tendency, left unexamined, results in discriminatory thought patterns like racism, misogyny, and xenophobia. To prevent such hazards, we remind ourselves that we are all equal members of a larger group called humans. This in turn can mean bad news for non-human animals. Veganism is an attempt to enlarge our circle of empathy to include other earthlings. Not to imply equality within this group, but merely to acknowledge a trait we seem to share, the capacity to suffer. A further extension of our empathy may become relevant in two future scenarios. One, if sentient life is discovered on another planet, and two, if artificial intelligence acquires consciousness. But even now, there's another way we can choose to extend our empathy to sentient beings, and that is by taking into account the potential person. A potential person is someone not yet brought into existence. Of course, creating someone usually makes us their parent, at which point the adorable gene perpetuator is propelled into our closest circle of empathy. But to empathize with a potential person is to foresee all the potential moments of suffering in a life not yet created. The only way to prevent this potential suffering from becoming actual suffering is to avoid creating people altogether, a position known as anti-natalism. A helpful distinction in this context is that between the experiencing self and the remembering self. In relation to any point in a person's life, it is the experiencing self who lives through it, whereas the remembering self only sees it in retrospect, lumped together with other points in time, refined and reshaped into a memory. Even painful experiences are often justified by the remembering self as they get neatly integrated into a narrative. But when in the midst of experiencing a broken heart or leg, is our pain expunged by the knowledge that later all this will be part of some bigger story? Or are we consumed by the painful present? Anti-natalists tend to acknowledge the pain experienced within life's moments, because present-time suffering is generally more real than future stories we may tell ourselves. Admittedly, the antinatalist solution eliminates both the pain and the pleasure a person would have experienced. But do these two carry equal weight? To find out, we could compare their presence in an existing life with their absence if that life is non-existent. The presence of pain being unpleasant or bad surely makes its absence a good thing. But what about the presence of pleasure being good? Does that mean the absence of pleasure is bad? If your answer is, no, it's not bad because there's no person being deprived of all the pleasure, you may concur with antinatalist philosopher David Benatar, who presents this asymmetry argument. If, on the other hand, you find this argument hard to accept, this is understandable. A trait that causes people to avoid procreation is hardly a successful one in evolutionary terms. Rather, we'd expect to see high motivation to procreate and the ability to silence any thoughts of wrongdoing, leaving us with a more positive image of procreation as a virtuous act of generosity and altruism.
Another year is about to end. I don't know how many more years I have to endure this.
Ho 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 ho! Why are you sitting here with a sad face on such a beautiful Christmas Eve?
Oh, it's you, Mr. Santa.
I see you made some beautiful decorations.
Yeah, it's for the orphans, whom I distribute gifts on this day.
That's great.
You see all this as great?
What's the problem?
You see this one day of happiness, but I see the struggles and pain of these innocent women and children throughout the year.
But that is all a person can do. There is no other solution.
Really? You haven't figured it out yet?
By any chance, are you referring to anti-natalism?
Yeah, of course. How hard it is to understand. Just stop having kids and adopt the orphans and elderly people to end the majority of the sufferings.
Yeah, for the past 3 years, I have been coming across many people like you. It's really getting some popularity these days.
As people are getting more and more conscious, they are figuring it all out.
I agree too. Throughout the year, I keep a watch on the children, and it's a hard thing to watch these innocent children suffer needlessly.
It is very hard to continue this existence after knowing the fact that in this very second we are talking, someone somewhere is having a tough time or having an unbearable life.
Oh, come on. Just be a bit happy on this day. Okay, I'm gonna give you a gift. Just tell me what you want for Christmas.
I want the gift of having a fundamental right. The right to have a peaceful, painless exit from this hell.
What? Are you serious?
I have endured a lot throughout my life. I have tried to convince people my entire life to stop procreating. Some have agreed and many have not. That is all I could do. Now I am tired. I can't take it anymore. This is pure mental torture. So, can you please gift me the right to no longer exist?
Why is it that a relatively large portion of antinatalists is also vegan, and in the vegan community, antinatalism is increasingly discussed? Perhaps because someone who chooses to save a cow from needless suffering may decide to extend the same courtesy to a human, and vice versa. We could say that the common interest is to reduce suffering, but it's more specific than that. If a large portion of society goes vegan, it is neither their aim nor the result that all the superfluous animals will be released and given a good life. Instead, as demand decreases, so must production, meaning fewer animals created. So rather than reducing suffering that exists, both philosophies are about refraining from the creation of new life that will suffer. And both are willing to forego the benefits to avoid the cost. Vegans give up certain foods and products, and antinatalists forego the rewards of procreation. The costs avoided relate first and foremost to existence itself, whether confined to bad conditions by humans or to the human condition. It's easy to imagine an antinatalist going vegan after realizing that a human's existential angst is nothing compared to the horrors of factory farming. The opposite direction, or why a vegan would reach an antinatalist conclusion, is perhaps better exemplified by the idea that the new life we create causes harm, in addition to being harmed. A vegan who speaks of the animal industry's carbon footprint as an argument for veganism may realize that in this regard there's an even stronger case for antinatalism. This question, and many others, are constantly thrown at vegans to show that no one is completely moral. It's a tactic known as whataboutism, and it implies that we can reject veganism for being ethically imperfect. But the vegan response is not to accept this conclusion. Rather than use imperfection to wipe out all complexity and justify anything, we can do our best to minimize the pain we cause. The antinatalist response is that, whether we endorse veganism as damage control or not, we certainly shouldn't subject another person, a new person, to the same moral conundrum. This is the ultimate step in the progressing morality of avoidance. Not so long ago you could be a vegetarian, but vegan seemed extreme. Today, veganism is on the rise, but so is the understanding that, contrary to what we'd like to believe, none of these steps fixes everything. Harm and suffering are part of life, and no matter how ethically we do manage to live, once we create a person, we're setting in motion a future beyond our control, filled with moral compromises and painful experiences. And if this can be compared to a burst pipe, antinatalism starts with turning off the mains, but it doesn't have to end there. Once the negative effects of life are limited to a lifespan, there is a world of possibilities, of ways to reduce suffering, to reduce harm, and to be able to say one is doing one's best without that air of absurdity of mopping up the mess while the water is still gushing.
الطبيعة. عندما ننظر إلى هذه المناظر الجميلة والخلابة ونرى هذا الخضار والزهور والشلالات والفراشات، نستمتع بهذه اللوحة الفنية. لكن إن نظرنا عن قرب وحاولنا أن نعرف حقيقة الطبيعة تحت الغلاف الخارجي الجميل الذي يغطيها، نبدأ باستكشاف خفايا مرعبة وقاسية تعكس حقيقة الطبيعة على الرغم من جمالها الخارجي الذي لا يعرض لنا سوى الأوهام. كثيرون هم الأشخاص الذين يتغزلون بالطبيعة ويضفون عليها طابعا رومانسيا، لكن الحقيقة تقال دون أي تزييف للواقع. لطالما أن شريعة الحياة هي البقاء للأقوى، فهذا الأمر أشبه بمسرحية دموية مليئة بصراعات ونزاعات وقتالات لا جدوى ولا هدف ولا غاية منها. تأملوا جيدا تلك الوحشية، ضحايا تدفع ثمن الوجود، والمعركة تستمر لأجيال وأجيال وأجيال. المشكلة الأساسية وراء كل ذلك هو سيطرة مركب الحمض النووي على جميع الأصناف بما فيهم البشر أيضا. ذاك الهوس بالتكاثر الذي يولد المزيد والمزيد من المعاناة غير الضرورية لنهاية حتمية. لو اقتربنا أكثر وتعرفنا على سلوكيات الأصناف لانصدمنا ببعض الحقائق التي اكتشفها العلم. أولاً، المضايقات هي تقنية يستخدمها الذكور من العديد من الأصناف لإجبار الإناث على الخضوع للتزاوج. ثانياً، في بعض أنواع الثدييات من الشائع أن يقوم الذكور بقتل الأطفال ليتزاوجوا مع الإناث. ثالثاً، ذكر عنكبوت الأرملة السوداء يضحي بحياته من أجل ممارسة الجنس مع الأنثى لأنها تقتله ويعلم ذلك لكنه يستمر. الطبيعة خطيرة جدا، ولهذا السبب قام البشر ببناء بنايات وبيوت محمية بالجدران والحجارة لتفادي مشاكلها قدر الإمكان. ضع نفسك مكان الحمار الوحشي أو الغزال مثلا، يبقى طوال حياته يشعر بالخطر وكأن هناك جهاز إنذار ينبهه متى يهرب ويجري كي لا يفترسه الأسد. حتى في نومه لا يستطيع أن ينام براحة دون قلق وخوف. كذبة التفوق البشري. تتدلى خصيتا الرجال خارج الجسم في كيس من الجلد والعضلات الملساء يسمى كيس الصفن. لماذا؟ لأن درجة حرارة جسم الإنسان المرتفعة لا تناسب إنتاج الحيوانات المنوية. إنه عضو ضعيف في مكان ضعيف، في حين أن خصيتي الضفدع آمنة بداخله. فهل يعني هذا أن ما يسمى بالخالق يحب الضفادع أكثر من الرجال؟ ممرات أو قنوات الهواء وممرات أو قنوات الغذاء تلتقي وتختلط في بعض الأحيان مع نواتج فاشلة. الأماكن التي يمر بها كل من الطعام والهواء موجودة في الفم وفي الخلف عند البلعوم. في معظم الأحيان يتم توجيه الهواء المار عبر البلعوم إلى القصبة الهوائية، وفي معظم الأحيان يدخل الطعام والماء المار عبر البلعوم إلى المريء المؤدي إلى المعدة، لكن ليس دائما. في بعض الأحيان ينتهي الطعام أو الماء في القصبة الهوائية. في بعض الأحيان يتم استنشاق قطع كبيرة من الطعام في القصبة الهوائية وتعلق هناك حيث تمنع التنفس. في هذه الحالات إذا لم يتم التعامل مع الانسداد لإزالته بسرعة كبيرة ستموت الضحية من الاختناق. هناك المئات من هذه الحالات كل عام. نظام التصميم الأفضل قد يبقي ممرات أو قنوات الهواء والطعام منفصلين عن بعضها لتجنب الوفيات غير الضرورية. هذا يثبت أنه تصميم غير ذكي، ومع ذلك فإن الجهاز التنفسي للحوت منفصل تماما عن جهازه الهضمي. هذا يعني أن الحوت على عكس الإنسان لا يمكنه أن يختنق بطعامه عن طريق استنشاقه. إذا كان الله يستطيع فعل ذلك للحيتان، فأنا لا أعرف لماذا لا يستطيع الله أن يفعل ذلك لنا. التفوق البشري يفشل مرارا وتكرارا. التربية. التربية منذ ولادة الطفل هي عبارة عن تلقين للطفل وإعطائه أوامر وتأديبه بحال تصرف بطريقة طبيعية عفوية خارجة عن النطاق المتفق عليه. معايير المجتمع تلعب دورا أساسيا في تربية الأطفال. في أول سنين حياتهم تصلهم التعليمات بشكل مستمر مع تحذيرات أن أمرا ما خطيرا سيحدث لهم في حال فعلوا هذا أو هذا. يعيش الطفل في جو من الترهيب والتخويف والقلق، وتنمو معه تلك الأحاسيس. من هنا نستنتج أن العلاقة ما بين الأهل والأولاد هي علاقة فاشلة. هي تماما كعلاقة الجلاد بالضحية. دون شك الأهل يختارون ويقررون عن الطفل بكل أنانية بكل مراحل حياته، وهناك أسلوب المن يدعون الطفل يشعر أنه يجب أن يكون ممتنا لهم لأنهم يعملون ويصرفون عليه. ليس فقط ذلك، في معظم الأحيان يجبر هذا الطفل على اتباع عقيدة أو دين معين وانتماء جغرافي لدولة ما وانتماء عرقي وإثني، ويبقى طوال حياته يدافع عن تلك الأمور التي لم يختارها من الأساس وفرضت عليه. تتكون شخصية الطفل مع الوقت. عندما يكبر وينضج تتأثر شخصيته بشكل كبير بالبيئة المحيطة به وطريقة التربية منذ الصغر. إن ترعرع على الشعور بالشفقة والعاطفة تجاه الآخرين فسينصدم بالأمر الواقع ويكون هو الضحية، لأنه لن يتحمل مرارة الحياة. وإن ترعرع على القساوة والوحشية فسيكون السبب في تحويل أحلام غيره إلى كوابيس ويسبب لهم أذى نفسي أو وجسدي. العمل والمستقبل. اخرجوا من منازلكم وتأملوا حركة السير في الصباح الباكر في مناطقكم، وخاصة إن كنتم تقطنون في مدن مزدحمة. تأملوا ذلك جيدا وراقبوا الحركة. الجميع يركض ويطارد ويجاهد ويكافح للوصول إلى مكان عمله. هذا الحدث يكرر على الأقل 5 مرات في الأسبوع، روتين يومي. كل هذا من أجل كسب المال للاستمرارية. نعيش حياة زائفة وتتحكم بنا عملة ورقية وتقود حياتنا إما نحو الأفضل أو نحو الأسوأ. أعداد البشر في ازدياد والموارد محدودة، والتوقعات تقول أن كل طفل جديد يولد اليوم سيكون مستقبله أصعب، وعليه أن يعمل 12 ساعة يوميا على الأقل كي يكون قادرا على تأمين طعامه للبقاء في هذا الصراع فقط. هناك احتمال كبير أيضا أن يضطر هذا الطفل لشرب مياه معاد تدويرها لأنها مستخدمة من قبل بسبب الاكتظاظ السكاني الهائل وعدم القدرة على توفير كل المتطلبات اللازمة للجميع. دون التطرق لموضوع الاحتباس الحراري وتغير المناخ وارتفاع درجات الحرارة الذي سيؤدي إلى اختفاء الثلوج في القطبين الشمالي والجنوبي مع المزيد من التصحر ومعاناة أصناف أخرى من الكائنات الحية التي تشاركنا الكوكب. الحكم. إذا كان قطار الملاهي يجرح أو يقتل أكثر من 0% من ركابه، فعلى الأرجح سيتم إغلاقه، وربما بشكل دائم. الحياة فيها نسبة الإصابات ومعدل الوفيات 100%. بعد معرفة تلك المعلومات المكثفة في هذا الفيلم والتعمق أكثر وأكثر بالموضوع، يبقى الحكم الأخير لكم في النهاية.
Language allows us to establish and trigger connections between pieces of the world and patterns in the brain. But we also use language to shield ourselves from those very same connections. Anything that makes us feel uncomfortable can be softened with the euphemism, a choice of words that doesn't feel quite as harsh. And when a word gets tainted by its connotations, we can always replace it with a fresh one. But it's not just bodily functions that make us feel uncomfortable. Two common sources of discomfort are our own mortality and our own morality. To avoid being too explicit, we may say someone is getting on, will mourn the dearly departed, and try to minimize collateral damage. For the discomfort of killing animals for food, we use a linguistic barrier. Cow becomes beef, pig becomes pork, and even with chicken, which looks like it might be the same word, there is no confusion between chicken wings and a chicken's wing, because the word has been separated into two linguistic entities. To see how distinct they are, try rephrasing the question, "Do you eat chicken?" as, "Do you eat chickens?" In contrast, the life and death boundary is one we prefer to blur when we euthanize and euphemize our beloved pets. For our own species, of course, it's all the more troubling that life ends, for our loved ones and then for us. Hence the preference to speak of resting, or in terms that imply relocation rather than termination. But what about creating people in the first place? Do we feel discomfort about creating a person with the capacity to suffer and awareness of their own mortality? The language that we use indicates that we do. When we speak of bringing someone into the world, it implies relocation rather than creation, just like those end-of-life euphemisms. Another expression we use, to give life, implies the pre-existence of someone receiving the gift of life, and the symmetry in this case is with the euphemism for murder. The most common term of all, to have children, is very revealing when examined closely. Firstly, we use the same word both to denote a specific age group and as a general word for offspring, regardless of age. Secondly, we use the same word for something in our possession, such as young children, and for the creation of that something. So a sentence that would have carried the full weight of what is really being said is never spoken, because the harsh words are replaced with an expression that is more palatable due to its ambiguity. Far from just skipping over the sex, the words lighten the weight of responsibility, making one of the most fundamental and practical questions in ethics sound less consequential than a distant thought from the philosophy of engineering. The evidence for this preference among humans comes not only from the richness of English verbal phrases that seem to evade the meaning of procreation, but also from outside of English. When we look at translations of this unsettling question, a pattern begins to emerge, indicating that the need for this kind of verbal camouflage is prevalent across languages and cultures. 12 years ago, a best-selling author made a significant contribution to the conversation on food ethics by stripping away the euphemisms and challenging what we took for granted. Are humans ready to bring into question what used to be unquestionable and have an honest conversation about the ethics of procreation? We're getting there.
Before starting the video, I would like to say that since this is my first video on this topic, so there will be many diatribes and it's going to be a bit long. So please stay with me till the end. The farthest I could remember is when my mother used to force me to wake up in the early hours of the morning for school. I used to sit on the edge of my bed and used to think what all these endeavors and accomplishments will finally lead to. I was very young, maybe in the second grade, as I can remember, and that morning I had this strange feeling of being trapped. I had never cherished my life. Waking up each day is like torture. I hate mornings and I hated every morning of my life. I was lucky enough though to be born in a middle-class family. I have access to all the amenities that are generally available to people. So it's not like my life is entirely in ravages. But still, the idea of existing really suffocates me. I had never asked to be born, and even given the chance to choose, I would choose against birth. Life went on and all those optimistic promises of childhood has now completely vanished. I was born in India, so let me begin by saying a 3,500-year-old hymn taken from Rig Veda. Now Rig Veda is a collection of early Sanskrit text. So it's kind of like this. Who knows for certain? Who shall here declare it? Whence was it born? Whence came creation? The gods are later than this world's formation. who then can know the origin of the world? None knows when arose, or whether he has or has not made it. He who surveys it from the lofty skies, only he knows, or perhaps he knows not. This is one of the most sophisticated ancient cosmological ideas that came from Asia and particularly from India. Here, there is a tradition of skeptical questioning and unconscious humility before the great cosmic mysteries amidst the routine of daily life. This hymn created a great sense of inquiry in me. India was known as the home of saints, and all my childhood I have been very interested in them. I began to discover them from the age of 15, I guess. And the more I read about them, the more clarity I got about life. Throughout history, the saints have been constantly imploring to be set free from the circle of birth and death. They precisely said they don't want to take birth again. Have you thought why they had such a strange plea? Why does Krishna, the greatest god in Hinduism, in the holy book of Gita, say, "Whosoever will truly comprehend his teachings will never take birth again and will be free from the circle of life and death"? If being born would have been such a remarkable thing or such a holy phenomenon, then why do all these saints have the same wish of not to be born again? So clearly there must be something wrong with giving birth to a new sentient life. This also implies that it's a great tragedy for the one who is born or the one who has been forced into existence. You haven't accomplished something great by being born. Rather, it was your great misfortune that you were born. But look around you, your parents, your relatives, the society in which you live in, they just are like you. They treat birth as something so auspicious and holy, and death as something of a catastrophe. Giving birth and taking birth is neither holy nor an event of rejoice. In Hinduism, there is a saying that a body is born with a never-ending greed, but with the innocence of a face of a baby. The capitalist and consumerist society in which we live in keep on telling us by their actions that we are of great importance. Have you noticed the message the shopping malls and the online shopping sites keep telling us? They tell us that our choices matter and that we are somebody. They don't question our decision, whether we are making an informed decision regarding its impact on the earth or not. We slowly then start to think that our choices are of great importance. We then never question our own choices. If we want to cut a forest, we are free to do it. If we want another sentient animal to be served as our food, we are free to do it. If our sexual hormones suddenly starts to flow, we are free to even rape. So all this importance to birth by the society and the people around you has in turn given birth to the ego inside you. You have built an impression that since your birth was celebrated by all, then you must also be of supreme significance. But the reality is that you are a disease that is born from the womb on this earth to annihilate all sentient life in the guiltiest possible way. And I am not preaching you. I am also that same monster. You need to realize that this life and this body is nothing but a prison where you have been forcefully brought into, and by procreating you will again bring a new life into this prison. In other words, you will again pass on the curse of your previous generation. People don't even give a thought to the ethics of bringing a new sentient life and just keep on breeding like rabbits. And if they are unable to conceive due to some reason, they get very upset and even run to the fertility clinics or find a surrogate to have a child. Hinduism and other religions keep on pointing out the fact that this earth is a place of pain and suffering, and there can only be reduction of suffering but never an absence of suffering. If you are finding yourself to be optimistic and joyful about your life, keep in mind that it is just a temporary decrease in pain and suffering, and it's not the true happiness. Even Christianity say that you have come here to repent and not enjoy. You aren't born in this prison for experiencing happiness. The only happiness you can anticipate is by becoming free from this prison and free from the guilt that you aren't accountable for another sentient life imprisonment. You see, the majority of the children that are born are just born like that. There is no proper rational reasoning involved in the decision. According to World Health Organization, 45% of the babies are accidental or unplanned, and the rest are planned though. And the main reason for the majority of the planned pregnancy is just because their neighbor or relative were having a baby, so they also joined the act. So basically, majority of the birth that takes place are just a matter of accident. The parents don't have a clue about the logical justification behind the decision of creating a new sentient life. You are taking such a crucial decision of creating a child. Shouldn't you have the complete awareness behind the decision? Suddenly one day you wake up and you get an urge to produce a child. Shouldn't you inquire into that feeling? That is, from where that impulse is coming and whether it would be ethical to bring a new life in this meaningless existence. You see, before you even buy a $1 worth item, you examine it and consider everything. But before taking such a crucial decision, you don't even think about it. And when some anti-natalist questions your ethics, you give the same obsolete answer your parents used to offer. If you assess yourself to be honest in your action, then it is time to question your tradition and your prejudices. Is it too difficult to realize that something inside us is obscuring our judgment? Something is completely keeping us occupied in a certain way that we can hardly see the truth. What is that thing that is influencing us? It's nature. Yeah, nature is the devil. It has given each sentient life very substantial programming. We may or may not have gathered knowledge throughout our lives, but certainly nature or our natural programming will surely have an impact on us throughout life. This biological programming by nature is even more powerful in women. because woman plays a very vital role in the evil gambit of nature. And what is that role exactly? The role of giving birth, taking care of the baby, providing nutrition and protection, and in turn keeping the cycle of birth running. This role is not just for the female of the human race, but for all the other sentient creatures. So to make women do all these things, nature has deliberately made women more body-oriented than men. Nature has made women more innocent, more compassionate, more caring, nurturing, and more sympathetic than men. This is done by nature to ensure that women remain occupied in the activities like taking care of the child, producing more children, taking care of their own body, and so that due to her innocence, she will not challenge the evil ploy of nature, and in turn force her to always be attracted to all the body-oriented activities. Because without the 24-hour care of the mother, the future generation wouldn't come into existence. If woman would use these qualities that she has and her complete energy into other aspects of life like sports, science, inventions, politics, literature, etc., then certainly we would notice a lot more contribution from women throughout history, or even more than men. Women need to understand that nature is not interested in their wellness. It has given them a very dominant instinct that doesn't let the majority of them achieve a greater level of consciousness. It just wants them to always be consumed by these thoughts. Women are conditioned into thinking that to get admiration and attention, either they have to make their body desirable or they must be willing to do all the activities related to childbirth and nurturing of the kid and family, like cooking, laundry, etc. Without increasing your consciousness and awareness, you will never catch the whole conspiracy that nature is playing against you. In developing countries like India, society also has collaborated with nature and have conditioned women into thinking that their greatest asset is their body. Already nature has formulated women to have a more body-oriented mindset, and on top of that, the society has constantly encouraged women to stay inundated in the activities by which they can make their bodies more and more attractive, produce more and more children, and in India, especially male children. To all the women who are watching this, please understand that nature and society, that is, the majority of the men in the society, wants just to consume and exploit you. They aren't interested in increasing your consciousness by which you can move out of this instinct. And this is how women can be easily oppressed. Look at how easy it is to oppress you, as the men in the society are fooling you by constantly praising you for your beauty and that how beautiful and desirable your body is. Look at the majority of the songs, the plays, the dramas, the movies. All they want is to flatter you for your body. And you are designed by nature to feel good about all these things. Look at the majority of the lives of women. From morning till night, they are either occupied with their own body or their child's body or their husband's body. No matter what, all their energy is devoted to the nurturing of the body and to the creating of new bodies. in all, it's a total body-oriented life. So, nature and society don't want to give you time to think about all these ploys and unfair things that are done to you. Are you born just to become a baby-making machine? Why do you have to endure so much pain every month? Why do you have to endure so much pain during giving birth? All this just to produce another life who, if born a girl, would have to endure the same agony just like you. So nature doesn't want you to question all these things. In Hinduism, it is said that a man's main aim in life is mukti or liberation. Isn't that also the aim of women? Isn't it the duty of the men to help women understand this injustice that has been done to women for generation after generation? Be it your wife, your lover, your sister, isn't this the ultimate purpose of loving a woman? That is to help her heighten her consciousness and attain mukti or freedom from all this. Isn't this also the true goal of feminism? That is to be free from the body-oriented life? Not only women, but men also have this body-oriented conditioning. So, if at all we need to find partners or lovers in life, we need to find a person who would help us to increase our consciousness and awareness and not decrease it by any means. Have you noticed how boys call their girlfriends as baby? So majority of the girls who are listening to this day and night begins to think that she should possess some baby-like qualities to be more desirable to men. Look at how they talk like a baby and dress like a baby and always try to be dependent on someone just like a baby. A certain type of childishness can be seen in majority of the women, and this childishness is not of innocence but ignorance. I'm telling all this against women, not to taunt them, but to tell them that men do all these behaviors so that they can make women more and more immature, defenseless, and vulnerable by not encouraging them to grow their awareness or make themselves sufficient. The tragedy is that women have embraced it and even want to make this their asset. Tell me honestly, are the majority of the men in search of highly conscious and mindful girls? Women aren't understanding that men are waiting to find someone who is completely body-oriented and who have an immature mind so that it will be easier to exploit for him. If women become too aware of the games of society and nature that are played on her, then it would be very problematic for men and nature to fulfill their selfish, lustful desires of exploiting her. Men want a physically grown woman with a baby-like consciousness. Becoming a physically grown person and behaving like a baby and encouraging it by tagging it as cute is not only wrong but a very ugly face of society. It really astonishes me when I see boys and girls of 13 to 17 years old on the internet and also in my society who have no curiosity in education, who does not even know how to converse with people, who lack basic skills and understanding, who don't have any clue of the teachings of any prominent thinkers, but they know one thing for sure, and that is love. I wonder how they know nothing properly, but they are expert in loving each other, as if love requires no qualification, I sometimes feel that with so many loving people around me who knows nothing but only love, so why hasn't my community become a heaven by now? All their knowledge on love comes from movies and media, and what they're experiencing is that same ploy of nature that either gives them security or sex. Nothing else matters, just like an animal. True love can only exist between two conscious and aware individuals who are in constant endeavor to expand each other's awareness until they are free from these animalistic instincts. To help each other selflessly to attain mukti or freedom from oneself is the true goal of love. Is it so complicated to understand that this earth is now not capable of supporting even a single human being? We are now at 7.8 billion and may rise to 16 billion by 2100. Do you want your child to be happy or not? Just like Gwrth-enedigaeth has pointed out in the book, The Consolation of Philosophy, that how little of our lives is in our hands. The ubiquity and fickleness of fortune can lead us to anywhere. So 99% of chance are that your child will be a wage slave, and in our consumerist and capitalist society, the only happiness that comes in life is by consuming more and more. So your child will just consume and keep consuming till it dies. It is not your intimate matter to decide on, because your decision of bringing a new life will affect us all. The child you will bring will have a tremendous impact on this earth. Acres and acres of forest will be cut down to feed the next generation, which will inevitably kill thousands and thousands of wild animals. And if your future child will want to consume meat and dairy, then the impact is beyond my imagination. Becoming parent is not good news. It's not auspicious. It's not something we should talk about with a smile and contentment. Rather, we should be alarmed. We need to teach the young boys and especially the girls that their body is not a baby-making machine and their self-worth is not linked to their motherhood, and teach them where the real fulfillment of life really lies. If you love children, then don't bring them to this earth just to work, consume and die. It is completely unnecessary. First of all, the child is born without its consent, and instead of apologizing, you will burden the child with your own unfulfilled expectations and your stupid indoctrinations. It's a very selfish act. Let's stop seeing childbirth as a woman's main choice and purpose. Let's advocate for the importance of better birth control and education. Let us focus on making the world a better place for children to live in that are here already. Let us focus more on climate change, mental health services, and thousands of kids that are waiting for adoption. Why is there a need to bring someone in this cruel world full of cynical, self-righteous, and opportunistic people? How come people still want to live despite the cruelty of this world? I would rather not exist. I would rather be disregarded. I would rather not have encountered anyone in this world. I would rather be nothing. I think life is only gracious and forgiving to those who are lucky enough to be in a place where they don't have to complain about being alive. Sometimes I just want to die, but the thought of feeling pain scares me. But now I feel like I am stuck in a loop of deliquescence and existential crisis. So why then I'm still alive despite my strong affirmation of not wanting to be alive? I wish I had never been born, not because life is not fun or I can't enjoy life, but I can't bear this burden of my existence. We humans are evolved to be too conscious to realize that every day around us millions and millions of animals are murdered, mutilated and tortured for our sensory pleasures, and thousands of people are forced into wage slavery until their end of lives. How can a person with consciousness stay happy with all this suffering around him? Just like Peter Zapfe says, we are excessively conscious, and this excess leads to death. I was thrown here, nothing I could do but merely not to die. Although this life I have experienced many good things, friendship, love, adventure, but I can't find any meaning in what I've been doing in life. I eat merely not to die. I sleep and wake up merely to survive. From morning to night, from day to day, from week to week, from month to month, from year to year, I just endure myself. Nothing I can do other than this. I will keep doing it, no matter what, as long as I'm still alive. But if I could choose, I would choose not to be born at all. I would like to end with this representation of the creation of universe at the beginning of cosmic cycle. This is a motif known as the cosmic dance of Shiva. The god has 4 hands. In the upper right is a drummer whose sound is the sound of creation. In the upper left, it has a tongue of flame, a reminder that the universe now newly created will billions of years from now will be utterly destroyed. Creation and destruction. These profound and lovely ideas are created to ancient Hindu beliefs. Everything will inevitably come to a brutal end, and both science and religion advocates it. Then why can't we choose anti-natalism, or more importantly, aphilism, and live this ugly game of life in the most gracious way possible?
Cry as if no one can hear. Try it on the pain. It's adorable from here. Small as you feel, It'll change before you know. Soon you'll enjoy products of the pain below. Weep for the meek, they don't have a voice themselves. Dream unredeemed in the streets and on the shelf. Trust in your eyes, they're improving every day. First you can see, then you learn to look away. With each tear you will be stronger, with each feeling that you conquer. Place a shield in your mind. Stand, start to walk, step on anything it takes. Race like a storm, don't you lag for goodness sake. Play games of war, hone the skills that you will need. Shots have been called, you were born an enemy. And these battles make you stronger, soft emotions that you conquer. Brace a shield in your mind. Pace pulls you through, fake it till you make it. Don't believe the naked truth. Dress her up, wear it down. Grow loud and clear, fight to win, collect your prize. Soon ends will meet, tearful and joyful eyes. Soon you'll be here, smiling as your baby cries.
There's a time in a person's life where meaning, purpose, and hope disappear. A feeling where you look at life in a different lens than you once did. Where you realize that reality is the real horror movie. The movies don't even compare. It's a time of unveiling of the curtain of truth, where you see the play for what it really is. If there is no cameraman, the control room is empty, the actors are puppets, and the audience are just faceless, lifeless bodies. This is what it feels like to be me, an alien on another planet full of nepotistic, bigoted, life-loving narcissists. They cling to their futile dream of an afterlife that doesn't exist, only to create dogma that punishes others that don't believe what they do. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. But it is for the better, because now I know that the love for life I once had never really loved me at all. She was the ultimate neglector. We are all just sentient robots on a conveyor belt of an endless loop of suffering. It changes the way I think about love, holidays, parties, hobbies, obligations, and passions. Death is a permanent solution, but to all kinds of permanent problems. If problems were temporary, we would all die healthy and happy. This is the predicament we're thrown into in this life. Our parents recklessly brought us here. Now we have to deal with it. Mitigation through medicine only works to a certain point, and then it's chronic pain for the rest of your life. The suicide preventionists seem to be the real negative ones, forcing others to hang, shoot, drink, jump, and burn themselves. The positivity is to never experience the trappings of a psychotic society that cares nothing for the actual suffering of others. To be released from suffering is an objective fact and the ultimate positivity. The joy I have felt by letting go of God, hope, love addiction, and even life itself has been liberating and yet heartbreaking at the same time. But I wouldn't want it any other way. I would rather suffer in the truth than revel in ignorance. This problem has one solution and one alone: 100% pure voluntary extinction. A place where no wars, murders, rapes, blood, or tears are shed. I will continue to hope, but for another reason: the hope to no longer exist. The hope to no longer hope. That someday this will all be over with and Earth will be a desert-like nothingness. A dream that this planet will have at least one day without heartbreak, tears, and pain.
Citizens of the United States, humans on Earth, what has long been denied can no longer be denied. Our species has entered a great decline from which we may never recover. The basis of our world economy, constant growth, has ended. We are sliding down a precipice. Will we starve? Will our fields lay fallow? Will our infrastructure fail for the want of labor? Must we collapse from the demographic weight of an aging population? Will our promise to ourselves never to return to the horrors of death camps be sundered? Will our kind leave this world as we came into it, in ignorance, in famine, and blood? I was warned. They warned me to call for babies, to denounce the anti-natalists. They warned me to call for babies, as my fellow presidential candidates do. But I will not call for babies. That call has long gone unheeded. Nor will I make a baby myself, for my conscience prohibits such. Instead, I call for heroes. I call for the titans of industry to shrink without going bankrupt. I call for logicians and civil servants to schedule, organize, and orchestrate city evacuations. I call for environmental engineers to minimize the damage we do as we depart. I call for medical professionals to ensure the dignity of every single human being as they pass. I call for the hero in you, in every single one of you, to help manage this decline. I know the hero that is inside of me is the hero that is inside of you. Join me. And we will go out, not with a whimper, but standing upright, hand in hand, as the last of us turn out the lights. We are sliding down a precipice, and it may already be too late. The stakes for humanity have never been higher. Heed my call for heroes. This is the last call for heroes!
Next headline could be about your daughter, your son, as the victim or the perpetrator. Stop gambling with the welfare of others. Stop bringing children into the world. Be anti-natalist.
Anywhere you go, you belong. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
And so concludes the first Anti-Natalist Film Festival. Thank you so much again to all of our amazing filmmakers, to everybody that's come today to celebrate the event and who has supported the event in all the ways that people have. Thank you so much. Though our screening event today is over, this is really, truly only the beginning. We hope that next year the event can graduate from not just existing as an online screening event, but to an actual live in-person event. More news on the Anti-Natalist Film Festival 2022 as it develops. Make sure to follow all of Anti-Natalism International's social media to stay up to date on news of those developments. So now let's talk a little bit about prizes. So we will in fact have 3 winners, 3 prizes, but we will not be announcing our winners until the January 2nd closing party and award ceremony. Details on this upcoming event soon. Once again, stay abreast on the Anti-Natalism International social media accounts. You can find all of those links below on our link tree and on our website. The first winner of the festival will be selected by the founders of Anti-Natalism International, and they will receive a goodie bag of various anti-natalism related prizes, as well as a hand-sculpted award made by me. Images of this will be available soon. The second place award will actually be chosen by you, the viewer. Head over to our page on antinatalisminternational.com/Antinatalist Film Festival. Find the Google voting form, it'll also be below, and vote for your favorite film. Second place winner will also win a goodie bag of antinatal swag. The third prize is the $500 In Mendham's Challenge prize. Only 4 of our films today were eligible for this prize as they were submitted specifically for that category, and that winning film will be selected by In Mendham himself. More about the prizes will be added to that ANI website page that I mentioned just a second ago, ASAP. I apologize, this section of the page has not been completed at the time of this recording. Quick note, hope it goes without saying, my piece in the festival is not eligible for any prizes or any voting of any kind. I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to make something myself. We would love to know what you thought about the Anti-Natalist Film Festival today, so if you have any thoughts, please share them with us by writing to antinatalnews@gmail.com, or perhaps leaving a comment on our YouTube upload of this event, or anywhere else you might find the video. We'd love to know your thoughts. Thank you again to our incredibly talented anti-natalist filmmakers for making this first year of the Anti-Natalist Film Festival possible. See you again on January 2nd for the award ceremony and closing party. And thank you again to everyone for watching the Anti-Natalist Film Festival. All the best, and bye for now.